So you can never be left alone for too long. I got you. I got you. Oh, recording. So, this is episode 1 of season 2. Oh, this dog. Gotta pet her. Episode 1 of season 2. 7:37. Yeah, by this point, as far as me watching this series goes, I'm like completely invested in the majority of the characters. I have like genuine concern for the well-being of these fictional, for these characters. Um, I'm still like I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen. So I'm watching every episode, waiting to be rewarded. And I have to admit, I wasn't let down, except for the beginning of the episode, and for the first time, I've actually saw the actor who plays Mr. White. For the first time, I've seen him where it's like, oh, he's acting right there. And like I've said in most of the other uploads, um, I couldn't tell whether he was acting or not, or I shouldn't say that. He was so believable in that moment that I didn't think he was acting. Put it like that. But there was actually a scene where I was like, oh, okay, they're acting. I don't know if that's bad or good, but I'm starting to notice a lot of little things, such as in Pinkman's house, um, how messy it is. So you see how messy Pinkman's house is, and you're like, okay, I guess that would add to the character being dysfunctional, if you, I guess. But anyway, maybe I'm overthinking it as usual. In this episode, you're we're only dealing we're dealing okay we're dealing with Pinkman, Mr. White, Mrs. White. You don't see Junior. You see him once. He comes up after a really damn. How do I describe that? He pops up in the episode um, after Mr. White tries to force himself on Mrs. White. They come to a. I mean, she's pregnant, and he's channeling all his emotions in a sexual manner towards her, and she doesn't always. She's not always down to accept his advances. Uh, and sh in this moment, they have this weird kind of like, hey, I'm not with that, and he's like persistent on it, but he gets snapped back into reality when she yells at him. I'm jumping around the episode, of course. It starts off as usual. They're completing a drug transaction, but I don't know if it was pre-planned or if the character they're dealing with now that they're getting all their money from, well, the majority of their money from, the character they're getting the majority of their money from. I don't know if it was pre-planned by him or he, the character's literally that unpredictable, but he winds up beating like I get no, he winds up beating like one of his. I guess I don't know how you would call it. I don't know one of the people he runs with. He winds up beating him to death, and that I don't know kind of that kind of cultivates a little bit of hilarity. I guess there's nothing really funny about somebody being beat to death. Can be, depending on the object and the setting, of course. But this was a junkyard, and the guy used his fist. So I don't see where the humor is in that. The only reason that it would be funny is because later on in the episode, one of this one of the characters' other teammate tries to go back and retrieve the body, but gets his arm crushed. And okay, should I explain it all the way, or no? I'm gonna keep going. He gets his arm crushed in between two vehicles, and basically loses a lot of blood. And the brother-in-law, and that's another thing about it. This town must be so small because with his brother-in-law being in law enforcement, it seems to get all the cases that are created by Mr. White and Pinkman. The brother-in-law winds up getting, or maybe it's because he's a DEA agent, and they're dealing in methamphetamines. So I guess it makes sense. I don't think there's like uh, a big office out there. I feel like there's a small branch of the DEA in that particular city, and they're throwing all the drug cases, and they know all the known drug dealers and major drug dealers and small drug dealers and users, and they have a network of they call them snitches, a network of snitches and whatnot. So I'm assuming they should make assumptions, but I'm assuming so that leads me to make the assumption that he would be the only person on these cases. That makes sense. They also deal with Mrs. White's sister and her stealing problem. That gets bounced around multiple characters, and you realize that it's been an ongoing problem with her, and she's what should I say? And she's like in denial about getting help and not really following through with it. So you peel back a little bit, you peel back a layer, introducing you to more flavor. That's I don't know why I say that. You peel back, you get to see more. Uh, you get to see more from the brother-in-law and the sister in this episode. You get to understand their relationship more. Um, Pinkman, of course, he's in and out of the episode, but he's one of the main characters, so he's not never present. I shouldn't say. Um, just they're doing a lot of work with this newer character. Um, I know this actor from Training Day. I think I saw him in another movie. Blood In, Blood Out. But he always gets cast as a gangster. So I feel like his roles are pretty limited in that. I feel like he always gets cast as a gangster. I don't know. But hey, if you're working, you're working. So I don't. I'm not knocking him for that. I'm just saying I haven't seen him in any other roles. Maybe I might be wrong. He may have been in other roles. I have to Google him, look at his IDBM or whatever. I have to look at his resume, so to speak. But anyway, see, at the beginning of the episode, there's an eyeball floating in the pool. The eyeball gets sucked in the pump because there's a pump that circulates the water, so it won't be stagnant. As far as I know, that's as much as I know about pools. And then there's a stuffed animal floating in there. Because the eyeball didn't look real, it looked fake. There's a stuffed animal floating in there, eyeballs from a stuffed animal. There's burn marks on a stuffed animal, so I'm like, what's going on there? That kind of that sparks your curiosity, if anything. But you don't get an answer to that in this episode. I don't remember being given a conclusion to that. So now I'm just, what's going on there? And then the end of the episode also ends. Before I get to that, there is a problem with this. I guess the main focus of this episode is with the person that's giving them the majority of the money for the drugs they're manufacturing. He loses two people, of course, that would make him paranoid. But Mr. White and Pinkman are also paranoid because they think he's following them. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on there. Mrs. White is trying. Now in this episode, I kind of get, after that incident in this episode, now I kind of feel her pain somewhat, like, because they're showing it more. Like, the character is not talking to the other character. They leave him in the dark. And they're going through a traumatic situation with him having lung cancer. And they're not really communicating. He's basically, a little something going on here. Feels like he's basically just being quiet to the end, which is I think a horrible thing to do. I don't know. Let's not go down that route. I don't have a terminal disease, and I don't know anybody with a terminal disease. So, nobody in my immediate family anyway. So I can't. I shouldn't speak on those things as far as real life's concerned, but in the matter of this fiction based show made for entertainment, I get it now. I get her point of view. The character, I get the character's point of view. But the end of the episode is these two guys being kidnapped by their drug dealer. His name is Tuco. Original, I guess. But I can't wait to see. Can't wait to see what happens there. That should be interesting. Oh yeah, and they always try to throw in a little bit of science in this one, like a little bit, a smidgen of science and history. They're talking about ricin, which is a powerful. He says it's a very powerful poison. So we shall see. The next episode. Now I'm waiting for the next episode. This episode was kind of like it had that finale type feel to it, but then again, it's like left you wondering and wanting a whole bunch. I guess which is good for the first episode of the season. Tomorrow, Futurama, of course, and then Sunday. I'm not gonna make any promises, but I did watch one movie, so for sure it's gonna be one movie's gonna get reviewed on Sunday. But I'm gonna watch another one so that way I can have two again. Till tomorrow.